Alright guys, okay, so today I'm going to be attempting to make a workbench out of this offcut of kitchen worktop. This is oak, but you can use any wood. Just want something that I can cut my laminate on and fix it to my pack out down here to make life a bit easier. I've got these little clamps or vices off of Amazon. You can also buy them off of eBay, I'm sure. They're cheap enough, you don't need nothing special. Also stealth feet. These are like 3D printed feet you can also buy off of Amazon or eBay. Let's get started. It should be quite an easy little project for someone to do if they want to try it themselves. So first of all, get your stealth feet, place them in your pack out case, the place where you're going to obviously want them to be when the actual workbench is fitted. Make sure they're in there nice and secure. Now I'm using 4, you know, depending on the size of the workbench you could just use 2, but I want this to be quite solid, so you don't want it moving about, especially when you've got something in place and you're jigsawing away. It can be a bit dangerous, so I'm using 4 in this case. So they're all in nice and securely. Right, next step, I'm going to use this double-sided tape. I've cut these to size. Now you want to stick this on your stealth feet, so you've got to make sure this is nice and clean and dust free, otherwise you won't get a good adhesion to it. Now the reason why I'm doing this is my way of getting the worktop and lining the feet up to the worktop, because obviously that can be a little bit awkward. You know, you don't want to be messing about trying to measure it all out. You know, you only got to be slightly out and then you've got a problem with it. But get these on, this is the easiest way to do it. Then you've got to peel the backing off. Now I sped this bit up because it was a bit awkward trying to peel the backing off of these in this particular instance. There you go, so I didn't want to see you watching me struggle with this. So once you've done that, get your worktop. Now you've got to be a little bit careful here. You need to offer it in place where you think you want it without actually fixing it down, so make sure you line it up nice and straight how you want it. Once you're happy with that, give it a good push down, make sure you've got plenty of clearance. Also you can peel it back up if you need to, make sure it's on there nice and solid, and then just pull it out of your actual pack out case and keep a bit of force down on it so that it comes out with the feet. Now this worked fine for me. One foot did come out, but luckily it left an impression where it went, so it was quite easy to place that one back down. It can be a bit tricky, like I say, depending on how good this double-sided sticky tape is. But yeah, so that's basically in place now. The next step is to actually screw the feet down. Do your best to make sure they don't move while you're screwing them down, and make sure you don't use screws too long so it goes through the top of the worktop. Okay, so now that's done, what you want to do is get your worktop, tip it up the right way and offer it into your pack out case. Make sure it goes in without any fighting or struggling to get it in. Make sure it's nice and solid. I'm pleased with that. Okay, so next step is get your little clamps, put these in place. Now you want to try and be a little bit particular here where you're putting them. I'm going to use this for cutting laminate, so I know roughly where I want them to go, but I did sort of like go a little bit over the top and made sure I measured it all to make sure they were even, just purely because it makes it look a little bit better, and why not, eh? Okay, so now that's done, next step is to actually screw these in place. I'm going to use the M12 impact driver for this. It's a good little impact driver, plenty of power, even though this is oak and hard wood, you know, it puts these screws in with no problem at all. Now even though I'm screwing these in now, I will be taking them out again. I'll explain why in a minute. Now for in my case, as I'm using this for laminate, I'm going to offer up a piece of laminate, make sure that I've got the sizes correct and they're in the right place for the clamp. I will be adjusting these, like I said. Yeah, it all seems to have plenty of clearance to do what I need to do, sawing it all the way through, as you can see. Okay, so now that's all done, so I'm going to tighten these up, so they do need a bit of tightening up. Just a matter of getting these clamps off again and going from there. Okay, so now they're out of the way, I'm going to be using my M18 router. I don't use this as much as I like to. It's a very good little tool, but it's just finding the little projects that you need to use it for. But this bit of wood on this workbench has got quite sharp edges and sharp corners, so I thought this was ideal. Also be very careful when you do something like this, because it's quite a dangerous tool if you're not careful. I'm using like I think a 1/2 inch round off bit here, just to give me a rounded off edge on the actual workbench, and I think this will make it look a lot better and a lot safer. Again, even though this is solid oak, you know, this tool had no problem going through it. Quite a pleasure to use, like I say. So also make sure you've got a nice fully charged battery when you start something like this, because it won't go well if your battery dies halfway through it. Okay, right, that's that done. Right, just going to give it a little clean up and blow all the dust off so I can see what I'm actually working with. And now what I want to do, just to sort of like finish it off, is I'm going to sand it down. I've got my Makita orbital sander. I'm going to start off with quite a coarse paper at the beginning of this, just to get the roughness off. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's got a few little marks and so forth on there. I want to get that away. And once I've done that, then I can go down to like a finer paper and just give it a much better sort of finish. Okay, so now that's done, let's give it a little clean up, little blow off, and I'm quite pleased with the way that's come out. Now you could probably treat this with some sort of oil afterwards, but I don't think that's probably necessary. It's a little bit overkill. It's only a workbench at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with that. It's nice and smooth, the edges are nice and rounded, and you know, it's not going to cause you any problems or any catches or anything. So next step is get your clamps back on. Now if you remember, you've already got your holes in place there, so you ain't got to worry about measuring anything or anything like that. All you've got to do is just put the screws back in, make sure they're in nice and tightly, because this is the final time you're going to screw these down. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with the way this is turning out. You know, hopefully it turns out good for you if you want to try this little project. Now next thing you see me doing here is I'm just adjusting these little vices just to make sure I've got plenty of clearance, and then when I actually clamp it down on the laminate, it's going to hold it nice and tight. So these are just quite easily adjustable. They've got nuts that you loosen off, put them at the right height, tighten them up. Okay, so here I'm just checking it, making sure that it holds my laminate in nice and solid, and I'm pleased with that. You know, I can't complain. And just double check, make sure I've got plenty of clearance to cut across here. I'm not going to be cutting into the case in any way. Yeah, no, I'm pleased with that. You know, it gets you start thinking about what you can do. It's going through my mind like I can probably adapt to this in some way, but not quite sure what I'm going to use to adapt it, but this may be something to hang the actual jigsaw off. But yeah, I'm pleased. Okay, so this is the Packout back in the van. Obviously, you know, the beauty of this, you ain't got to keep it in the actual Packout case. You can take it off, hang it up on the side of the van somewhere, and job done. I love it.